Samuel Eto'o enjoyed a historic career which lasted over 2 decades. His 08-09 season was his most prolific, as he found the back of the net 36 times, en route to winning a historic treble with FC Barcelona. But what happens if you move this version of him to Inverness Caledonian Thistle? What impact can he have there? And as you can see, Samuel has just arrived in northern Scotland. Aged 27, he's in his literal prime, showing those elite physical attributes which made him one of the fastest forwards in world football. Couple that with his elite finishing and mental attributes, mean his new club have a tremendous player on their hands. As mentioned earlier, this was a prolific period in the Cameroonian's career. Over the previous 6 seasons, he scored 108 league goals in the Blaugrana colours and at Mallorca. His new team will need him to continue that form and adjust quickly. During the 08-09 Scottish Premier League season, Inverness would find themselves at the foot of the table, relegated down to the second tier. Interestingly, they were only 4 points away from ninth place. Adding some of Eto'o's quality could really propel this team up the table. In reality, the old firm giants Rangers would get their hands on the title. The league's golden boot was won by Chris Boyd, who found the back of the net 27 times for the club. Eto'o won't be enjoying the same quality of teammates, though. One of our leading players for the campaign will be Grant Munro. At the heart of the defence, his form will be essential to success. Likewise, with Richie Ferran out on the wing, there really isn't that much depth available at the club, so the starting 11 will be required to put in a lot of work during the season. Tactically, we'll be going with an offensive 4-1-2-3. The team has been encouraged to play high up the field with a direct passing approach. We're hoping to basically get the ball to Eto'o as quickly as possible, with him making runs in behind. Once he has it, he's been encouraged to play selfishly and get amongst the goals as much as possible. Let's move through the season and see what happens. Well, it was a debut to remember for Samuel. Awful defending by Aberdeen lets him free in the box, and he'll score the match winner. With back-to-back victories in the opening 2 games, Inverness would welcome Hibernian, led by their own star forward, Stephen Fletcher. Only 21 here, he'd have a pretty successful season in the SPL, scoring 11 goals. And he'd have quite an eventful trip to the north, scoring twice before receiving a straight red in the 61st minute. Eto'o and his new teammates would fight bravely from 2-0 down. With just seconds remaining in the game, the ball drifts to the back post. Perfect ball is met by our man in the middle. And that would ensure a historic win and a huge comeback. The following 3 games would see a slight decline in form, winning 1 and losing 2. Sitting in third is a decent position though, especially with the third most potent attack in the league. If the defence could solidify a little, anything is possible. 3 weeks later, and they'd face their first huge opponent of the season, Celtic. Shunsuke Nakamura would establish himself amongst the league's leading players in this era, as he won 6 trophies in green and white. Sean Maloney's goal would open proceedings, but it was tightly fought. Some lax defending by Celtic let the Cameroonian in behind, and he executes a perfect chip. The potential for a historic win would fade away. Just 12 minutes after equalising, Shunsuke would find space on the edge of the box before curling it home into the top corner. Despite Inverness's best efforts, it would be a 2-1 defeat. And the tough fixtures just kept on coming. 2 weeks later, we'd be visiting Ibrox. They'll start with a formidable midfield duo of Barry Ferguson and Stephen Davis. And it didn't take long for that quality to show. Inside 30 minutes, a perfectly placed ball, and then a dummy leaves it for Thompson, who converts. Again, Eto'o would score on the biggest stage, and it turned out to be a pretty funny goal with a double ricochet. But what wasn't so funny was the result. Rangers would dominate and condemn Inverness to another loss. But overall, at the midway stage, things are going pretty well. Cut adrift from the league leaders, but still in a solid fourth place position. Let's briefly look at how the team performed in other competitions. Scottish Cup would see a disappointing first round elimination to Hearts of Midlothian. The Scottish League Cup offered the only other chance for silverware. In the second round against Airdrie, the team utilised our tactics perfectly, continually looking for the runs of Eto'o in behind. And the next round would be nothing less than incredible. After a breathless 90 minutes, the game would finish 3-3 before entering extra time. But the Glasgow side's quality was unrelenting. With 4 further goals in extra time, the teams just couldn't be divided. Penalty shootout would determine the winner. Following Ian Vigor's miss and Celtic's perfection from the spot, that would be the end of Eto'o's cup journey. Let's move back to the league and see what the final few months have in store. The legendary forward would continue his elite form in the new year, getting on the end of Maurice's perfect cross in the centre. A good point to take away from Tynecastle. He really developed a decent understanding with the Portuguese winger. Here against St Mirren, the perfect 1-2 sets up our man to finish. He'd leave the field with a match ball, and more importantly, all 3 points. With just a few weeks to go in the season, every fixture was becoming more and more important as the teams battled for position. Hosting a Hamilton side who were cut adrift at the bottom of the table was another must-win. And it was a great time for Eto'o to hit his best patch of form of the entire season. With 10 goals in 7 games, he really found his footing. Another brace, and another victory. His final contribution of the year would arrive in the penultimate week. And what a way to sign off. An 88th minute winner against Rangers. In all, Samuel would contribute 40 goals and assists in 37 appearances in all competitions. Incredibly, despite him generating 8 goals in the Cup, he was only on the winning side in 1 game, that against Airdrie. In total, his goals would directly lead to Inverness picking up 31 points in the league. What's even more impressive is he only took 2 penalties all season. Over 93% of his goals came in open play. He would comfortably win the division's Golden Boot award, beating Rangers' Stephen Davis by 10. He also ranked joint 6th in the assist charts too. But where did his side place in the table? Well, it was a historic campaign. With Eto'o, they'd move all the way up to 3rd place. With the Cameroonian forward, they've generated 25 more points, as well as scoring 17 more goals and conceding 11 less. Whilst Rangers and Celtic were simply too strong, it's still a fantastic impact by the new arrival. What was great too was during the entire year, they never dropped below 4th. In the opening weeks, briefly they were sitting top, but they just couldn't maintain it. Samuel Eto'o was truly one of the best forwards of his generation. His goals with Mallorca, Barcelona, and Inter ensured historic victories at those clubs. Here in northern Scotland, he proved more than capable of adapting well and equalling Inverness's best league finish in history.